every single person who has ever stood atop a podium, every innovator who has changed the course of history, and every individual who has managed to find peace in the midst of a storm has one thing in common. They are the products of a furnace. We live in a world that is obsessed with the destination, but deeply uncomfortable with the journey. We want the prize without the perspiration. We want the breakthrough without the breakdown. But the fundamental law of the universe, a law as unyielding as gravity, is that if there is no struggle, there is no progress. We often look at struggle as a sign that something is wrong. We feel the resistance, the fatigue, the self-doubt, and the external obstacles, and we think, this shouldn't be this hard. We assume that if we were on the right path, the doors would swing open effortlessly. But that is the ultimate deception. Resistance is not a signal to stop. It is the very engine of transformation. Think about the way a diamond is formed. It doesn't happen in a peaceful garden under the gentle warmth of the sun. It happens deep within the earth, under conditions of extreme heat and unimaginable pressure. Without that crushing weight, it remains nothing more than a piece of carbon. It is the struggle of the environment that forces the atoms into a structure of incomparable strength and brilliance. The same is true for the human spirit. Comfort is a beautiful place, but nothing ever grows there. It is a soft, warm cage that keeps us stagnant. We are designed to expand, to reach, and to overcome, and those things require friction. When you go to the gym to build muscle, you are quite literally struggling against the weight of the world. You are putting your body under stress, creating microscopic tears in your muscle fibers. In the moment, it feels like failure. Your muscles burn, your breath is short, and your body is screaming for you to put the weight down. But it is in the repair of those tears, the response to that struggle, that the progress happens. If you only ever lifted weights that felt light and easy, your body would have no reason to change. It would remain exactly as it is. Progress requires you to push against the edge of your current capacity until that edge moves. We see this same pattern in nature, everywhere we look. Consider the butterfly. When it is time for the butterfly to emerge from its cocoon, it must engage in a violent, exhausting struggle to squeeze through a tiny opening. A well-meaning observer might see that struggle and want to help, perhaps by snipping the cocoon open to make the exit easier. But if you were to do that, the butterfly would never fly. Its wings would be shriveled and its body would be weak. It is the very act of pushing against the walls of the cocoon that forces the fluid from the butterfly's body into its wings, giving them the strength and the structure they need to catch the wind. The struggle is the prerequisite for flight. Without the pain of the transition, the butterfly remains grounded forever. Why then do we spend so much of our lives trying to avoid the very thing that will give us wings? We have been conditioned to believe that life is supposed to be a linear path of increasing comfort. We equate easy with good and hard with bad. But if you look back at your own life, at the moments where you actually became a better version of yourself, were those moments spent on the couch? Were they the times when everything was going exactly according to plan? Almost certainly not. You grew when you were heartbroken. You grew when you lost your job and had to reinvent yourself. You grew when you failed an exam and realized you had to change your approach. You grew in the trenches. The struggle is the filter. It separates those who want the result from those who are willing to earn the result. Everyone wants the after photo, but very few people want to live the before process. If the path to greatness were easy, greatness would have no value. The reason we admire the hero is not because they won. It's because they were willing to suffer through the uncertainty and the pain to get there. The struggle is what gives the victory its weight. It is the narrative arc of our lives. Without a conflict to resolve, a story is just a list of events. It's the mountain in the way that makes the view from the top worth the climb. We must stop viewing our challenges as interruptions to our lives and start viewing them as the raw material of our lives. When you face a setback, you aren't being set back at all. You are being prepared. You are being forged. Every no you receive, every door that slams in your face, and every sleepless night you spend wondering how you're going to make it through is an opportunity to build a level of resilience that cannot be bought or gifted. It must be forged in the fire. The modern world tries to sell us shortcuts. There are hacks for everything. Get rich quick, lose weight fast, learn a language in a weekend. But these are all illusions. You can't hack character. You can't hack wisdom. You can't hack the calluses on your hands or the strength in your soul. Those things are only earned through the persistent, often boring and frequently painful application of effort against resistance. Progress is not a destination you arrive at. It is a state of being that you maintain through the willingness to engage with the struggle every single day. When you feel like you are at the end of your rope, when the weight feels too heavy to lift, and when the progress seems invisible, remember that the most significant changes often happen in the dark. The seed doesn't see the sun while it's cracking open underground. It feels the cold. It feels the pressure of the soil, and it has to fight its way upward through the dirt before it ever sees a single ray of light. Just because you can't see the progress yet doesn't mean it isn't happening. The struggle is the growth. The effort is the progress. Building on the foundation of why resistance is necessary, we have to look closer at the psychology of the struggle itself. Most people fail, not because they lack talent or opportunity, but because they have a low tolerance for the messy middle. We start a new venture or a personal transformation with high levels of dopamine and excitement. We see the vision clearly. But then, the initial novelty wears off and the friction sets in. This is where the true work begins. This is the plateau where most people turn back, assuming that because the excitement has faded and the difficulty has increased, they must be on the wrong path. But the plateau is actually the proving ground. It is the space where your old self dies and your new self is slowly stitched together. If you are not struggling, you are merely repeating what you already know how to do. You are operating within the boundaries of your current competence. To progress is to step beyond those boundaries, and stepping into the unknown is inherently uncomfortable. It requires a willingness to be bad at something before you are good at it. It requires the humility to be a beginner again, to stumble, and to feel the sting of inadequacy. We often talk about finding ourselves, but the truth is that you don't find yourself. You create yourself, and creation is a violent act. To create a sculpture, you have to chip away at the stone. You have to remove the parts that don't belong. This process of subtraction is painful because we are often attached to the very habits and mindsets that are holding us back. The struggle is the chisel. It is the force that removes the laziness, the fear, and the small-mindedness that keep us tethered to the ground. When you feel the tension between who you are and who you want to be, that tension is the energy of progress. Without it, you are static. Think about a rubber band. A rubber band is useless when it is relaxed. Its only value comes when it is stretched. The further it is stretched, the more potential energy it holds, and the further it can fly. You are the same way. The stretching, the struggle is what creates your potential. If you avoid the stretch, you avoid the impact you were meant to have. There is a profound beauty in the scars we earn during these periods of trial. In Japanese culture, there is a practice called kintsugi, where broken pottery is repaired with gold. The philosophy is that the piece is more beautiful and more valuable for having been broken and repaired. The cracks are not hidden. They are highlighted. This is how we must view our own struggles. Every failure, every moment of despair, and every obstacle overcome is a gold-filled crack in our character. It makes us more complex, more empathetic, and more resilient. A person who has never struggled is like a blank sheet of paper. Clean, yes, but without a story. A person who has fought through the darkness has a map etched into their soul. They have a depth that can only be earned by navigating the depths. This depth is what allows you to lead others. You cannot lead people where you have not been willing to go yourself. You cannot offer strength to others if you haven't tested your own. Your struggle is not just for you. It is a tuition you pay to become a person of value to the world. We must also address the myth of the overnight success. When we see someone at the height of their career or in peak physical condition, we are seeing the 1% of their life that is visible. We don't see the 99% that was spent in the dark, struggling in silence. We don't see the years of rejection letters, the 4,000 a.m. wake-up calls when they wanted to stay in bed, or the moments they sat in their car and cried because they didn't know if they were going to make it. Progress is usually invisible for a very long time. It is like heating water from 32 degrees to 211 degrees. The water is getting hotter, but it looks exactly the same. It is only when it hits 212 degrees that it boils and creates steam, a force powerful enough to move a locomotive. Many people quit at 200 degrees. They quit because they don't see the steam yet. They think all that heating, all that struggle was for nothing. But the energy was being stored. The progress was happening internally. You have to trust the process of the heating even when you don't see the boiling. The struggle also forces us to innovate. Necessity is the mother of invention, but struggle is the father of focus. When things are easy, we are distracted. We chase every shiny object and waste our energy on things that don't matter. But when our backs are against the wall, when the struggle becomes intense, we are forced to prioritize. We find out what we are actually made of. We discover resources we didn't know we had. We find a level of creativity that only emerges when the traditional paths are blocked. If you want to see what a person is truly capable of, don't look at them on their best day. Look at them on their worst day. Progress is the ability to maintain your integrity and your drive even when the wind is blowing directly in your face. It is the decision to take one more step when your legs are giving out. That single step is where the progress lives. It's not in the first mile. It's in the final inch. Furthermore, we must understand that the struggle never actually ends. It only changes shape. As you grow, your problems don't disappear. They just get bigger. The struggle of a small business owner is different from the struggle of a CEO of a global corporation. But the CEO is still struggling. They have just built the muscles to handle heavier weights. If you are waiting for a time in your life when there will be no more struggle, you are waiting for a time when there will be no more growth. Peace is not the absence of struggle. It is the ability to find harmony within the struggle. It is the realization that you are capable of handling whatever the world throws at you because you have survived everything it has thrown at you so far. This confidence is the ultimate form of progress. It is the quiet inner knowledge that you are a warrior. When we avoid struggle, we are essentially saying that we are afraid of our own potential. We are choosing safety over significance, but safety is an illusion. The world is going to challenge you whether you like it or not. You can either choose the struggle that leads to progress, or you can have the struggle of regret forced upon you. The struggle of discipline weighs ounces, but the struggle of regret weighs tons. Choosing to engage with the hard things, the difficult conversations, the grueling workouts, the complex projects, is how you take control of your destiny. You are deciding which fires will forge you. You are choosing the weight that will make you strong. Progress is the reward for that bravery. It is the feeling of looking in the mirror and knowing that you didn't take the easy way out. It is the pride that comes from knowing you are the master of your own soul, not because life was easy, but because you are tougher than the life you are given. In this final stretch of our journey, we must confront the most difficult truth of all. The struggle is not a barrier to your life. It is the substance of it. We often spend our days waiting for the storm to pass, hoping for a season of pure, unadulterated calm where we can finally begin to live. But life is the storm. Progress is the art of learning how to navigate the gale-force winds with a steady hand and a focused heart. If you wait for the perfect conditions to move forward, you will die waiting. The greatness you seek is buried directly beneath the weight you are currently trying to avoid. We have to stop asking for a lighter burden and start asking for broader shoulders. We have to stop praying for the absence of pain and start praying for the presence of the will to endure it. There is a specific kind of mental alchemy that happens when you stop viewing struggle as an enemy and start viewing it as a mentor. When an obstacle appears in your path, your first instinct is likely frustration. You ask, why is this happening to me? But progress begins the moment you shift that question to, what is this trying to teach me? Every challenge is a diagnostic tool. If you are struggling with a particular task, it is revealing a gap in your skill set. If you are struggling with a particular relationship, it is revealing a gap in your communication or your boundaries. If you are struggling with your own mind, it is revealing a gap in your discipline. The struggle is literally showing you the map to your own evolution. It is pointing its finger at exactly where you need to go next. To ignore the struggle is to ignore the instructions for your own success. We must also recognize that progress is not a constant upward slope. Real progress often looks like a series of failures that you refuse to let define you. We have a very sanitized version of success in our culture. We see the victory, the trophy, and the applause. What we don't see is the thousands of hours of boredom, the repetitive drills, and the moments of profound embarrassment. We don't see the times the entrepreneur went bankrupt before the big hit, or the times the athlete was told they weren't good enough. Progress is the ability to move from one failure to the next without a loss of enthusiasm. It is the grit to keep your eyes on the horizon when your feet are stuck in the mud. This is what it means to be truly alive. To be alive is to be in motion, and motion in a world of resistance requires force. You are that force. The reason most people never experience true progress is that they are paralyzed by the fear of looking foolish. The struggle is messy. It involves falling down. It involves making mistakes in front of others. It involves being the person in the room who doesn't know the answer, but the person who is willing to look like a fool is the only one who will ever become a master. The struggle of being a beginner is the price of admission to the theater of greatness. If you are too proud to struggle, you are too small to grow. You have to be willing to let your ego be crushed by the weight of your ambitions. You have to let the old you, the one who cares about appearances and safety, be burned away so that the new you can rise from the ashes. This is not a metaphor. It is a literal psychological requirement for transformation. Consider the concept of anti-fragility. Something that is fragile breaks under stress. Something that is robust survives stress. But something that is anti-fragile actually gets better because of stress. That is the ultimate goal of the human experience. We shouldn't just strive to survive the struggle. We should strive to be the kind of people who are fueled by it. When the world gets harder, you get sharper. When the pressure increases, your focus narrows. When the obstacles grow taller, your leap becomes higher. This is the peak of human progress. When you no longer fear the struggle because you know that the struggle is your power source, you become like a fire that grows larger when the wind blows against it. The very thing intended to extinguish you becomes the thing that spreads your flame. We often talk about destiny as if it is something that is handed to us, written in the stars, waiting to be discovered. But destiny is not a gift. It is a conquest. It is something you wrestle from the hands of fate. It is the result of thousands of small, difficult choices made when no one was watching. It is the choice to get out of bed when you are exhausted. It is the choice to be kind when you are being treated unfairly. It is the choice to keep working on your craft when the world is telling you to give up. These are the struggles that build the character required to hold the weight of your destiny once you finally reach it. If you were given everything you wanted right now, without the struggle, you wouldn't have the strength to keep it. The struggle is what makes you heavy enough to stay grounded when the winds of success try to blow you away. As you move forward from this moment, I want you to look at your life through a new lens. Every time you feel that familiar ache of resistance, every time you feel the urge to quit, every time you feel the walls closing in, I want you to take a deep breath and smile. Because that feeling is the sensation of your skin stretching. That feeling is the sound of your old limits shattering. You are in the middle of a miracle. You are the universe expressing its power through the medium of human effort. You are proving that the spirit is stronger than the circumstances. Progress is not a destination. It is the courage to continue. It is the relentless, stubborn, beautiful refusal to remain as you are. When you reach the end of your life, you will not look back and cherish the easy days. You will not talk about the times everything went right. You will talk about the battles. You will talk about the times you were down for the count and found a way to stand up. You will talk about the people who stayed in the trenches with you. You will realize that the struggle was not a distraction from your life. It was the highlight reel. It was the proof that you were here, that you mattered, and that you gave everything you had to the pursuit of something greater than yourself. So, embrace the friction, invite the challenge, walk toward the fire. Do not be afraid of the pain, for pain is just the ghost of your weakness leaving your body. If there is no struggle, there is no progress. But if there is a struggle, and if you are willing to stay in the fight, then there is no limit to what you can become. You are not finished. You are just getting started. The mountain is steep, the path is narrow, and the wind is cold. But the view from the summit is yours for the taking. If you are willing to climb, stand up, square your shoulders, and step into the struggle. Your future self is waiting for you on the other side of this hardship. And that person is stronger, wiser, and more powerful than you can currently imagine. But they only exist if you keep going now. The progress is in the struggle. The life is in the effort. The victory is in the heart that refuses to yield.